Hello and welcome to the Milan Talk podcast. I'm your host, Sumit Paul, and it's all about the 1-1 draw with Atalanta in this episode. I'll be looking at some of the key moments and points from the game, running through the player ratings, and of course reading your full-time reactions on Twitter. But first, let's kick things off with some of the key moments, and there is nowhere better to start other than Hakan Calhanoglu's goal. As the image on screen shows, it doesn't do it justice, of course, but great power, great pace, great accuracy on his shot. Galini will be disappointed with himself, I think. He probably should have done better, but take nothing away from the strike. Excellent goal from Calhanoglu, who continues his decisive impact since the restart. Just great to see him continuing to score goals, being at the heart of our attacking play, and obviously with the goals and assists, that is ultimately what he's going to be judged on. So it's good to see him continue to rack up those tallies. But this is also something that I've pointed out in previous pods. The second image on screen now is his ability to pick up these pockets of space in between the defence and midfield of the opposition. This is where he's struggled in terms of his role and his ability to influence games, but he has the technical quality, he has the vision, and he has the passing range to do great things when he's in possession. It's just about being able to pick his head up, find these pockets of space, and have the time to play the right balls. Now, on this occasion, Laxalt did brilliantly to break forward down the left, and his shot was pushed behind for a corner by Galini. But this was just another example of Calhanoglu being able to be at the heart of our attacking play by finding these pockets of space and really influencing the game. So that is something that he's really improved in terms of his impact and involvement in games, something that's really picked up since the restart. It obviously helps that Pioli's playing him in a more favoured and natural role, and just long may his good form continue, because he's been absolutely brilliant since the restart. So hats off to Calhanoglu again. But unfortunately, I'm going to look on a different side of the spectrum with Lucas Biglia, and I'm going to have to pick out and pick on him for what was a really poor performance in my opinion. Now, he's not going to replicate or replace Ismail Benacer and what he brings to the team. I don't think many people can. But what I would say is I think Rade Krunic was probably very unfortunate that he didn't get the nod instead, because I think he could have done a much better job than Lucas Biglia. Now, I get the reasoning. I guess it's probably because of his experience, but experience for me doesn't really count for much if you're ultimately just a liability for the team. And on several occasions, Lucas Biglia was, in my opinion. Obviously, for the penalty that he gave away, he actually lost possession in the build-up to Atalanta's equaliser. But then these certain situations were also a reason why I was just so disappointed in him. As you can see on the first image here, it's just his inability to keep up with the pace of the game and just kind of let it bypass him both in the attacking and defensive phases. As you can see, this ball came in to Alejandro Gomez, I believe, or Malinovsky rather, and Biglia is just nowhere near the play. He's already been bypassed. Gabbia is then forced to come out and kind of close the ball down and put pressure on, and look at the absolutely huge gap that he's leaving behind him. So it's more of the knock-on effect that you get when Biglia is on the pitch, that I just don't think he's got the legs and he's got the mobility to actually play the role anymore. And also, I'm not sure if he was given a license to get forward as much as he did by Pioli, but he seemed to wander into Atalanta's half a lot, and that obviously left us vulnerable and Kessie exposed, who had a lot to do in this game. But just this was one example of just why I was really disappointed, and why I just think it's the best decision that he is now moving on in the summer when his contract expires, because it just happened on so many occasions where Kaya and Gabbia had to come out and press and apply the pressure because Biglia wasn't there providing the protection and shield in front of the back line. So that was disappointing in itself. And in the second image, again, this was actually the build-up to the equaliser, as I say. He did give away the ball, and as you can see, he's nowhere near the possession. The play, the move has already gone past him. If anything, where the arrow is pointing, that is the area that Biglia should be manning and kind of controlling to avoid Atalanta getting into these dangerous situations. But like I said, he was just nowhere to be seen in these situations. And I just don't really know what he brought to the team in terms of his ability on the ball or his ability off the ball. So I think Atalanta really benefited from Benacer's absence in this particular game. And then finally, in the third image, again, this was just another example. Gomez fortunately put this opportunity wide, but just look where Biglia's positioning is. Now, I understand players now and again get dragged out of position if we're outnumbered on the wing, or there's a certain danger that they've got to get across and deal with. But if you look in this image, Laxalt's there, and we've got two other players there down Atalanta's right flank, and Biglia is in no man's land in truth. And And if he's in his right place, next to Kessie in this situation, then Gomez may or may not be getting this shot off at all. So for me, Biglia just out of position, not got the legs, and just not got the ability to play this role anymore at this level. Frank Kessie was brilliant in terms of doing his normal job, but also picking up the slack because of Biglia's failures, and just ultimately just cannot wait for Benacer to come back in the next game because we thoroughly missed him. So great from Calhanoglu, not so great from Biglia. Hopefully, as harsh as it is perhaps to say, that's the last that we see of Biglia, hopefully, but we shall see. So moving on to the player rating, kicking things off with Gianluigi Donnarumma. He gets a 7 out of 10. Made some key stops and also denied Atalanta from the penalty spot. Top performance and just a fitting way to celebrate being given the captain's armband. Couldn't do much about the goal in my opinion, so 7 out of 10 for Gigio. Davide Calabria gets a 6 out of 10. I think he did well at times in his defensive play and distribution, but then he struggled with the physicality and the physical battle with Duvan Zapata in particular, specifically with the goal. So he gets a 6 out of 10. Simon Kjaer, absolutely brilliant again, 7 out of 10. Barely put a foot wrong. Assured, commanding. I think his experience and leadership was absolutely vital. There were doubts in midweek about whether or not he'd be fit to play, especially with Romagnoli missing. It was absolutely crucial that he was in the team. Marshalled the backline well, helped Gabbia out at times as well. So just top performance from him. Turning out to be a great signing, so 7 out of 10 for him. Gabbia gets a 6 out of 10. I think he's still vulnerable to making key mistakes. He should have probably been a bit more decisive and commanding in the build-up to Atalanta's goal. But what I would say is that I think he showed maturity and composure to make some really important interventions. And I think he actually grew in confidence and became actually improved as the game went on in the latter stages. So I think he looked a little bit more solid in the second half. So I've given him a 6 out of 10. Laxalt, again, 6 out of 10. I don't think he obviously can offer the same threat and quality as Deo Hernandez, but did well defensively, I thought, and provided energy and support down the left flank. So I think he fits in well as a backup option at left back, and I think he did a good job. Frank Kessie, Frank the Tank, gets 7.5 out of 10. I think his fitness levels are unbelievable. If you think of the workload that he's had to do, he's barely come off. He's never been replaced by Pioli, in truth. His composure and quality on the ball has improved no end. Even with the extra pressure and responsibility in midfield with no Benacer next to him, I thought he put in another stellar performance in both phases of the game. And just excellent performance from Frank yet again. Lucas Biglia gets a 5. Again, hopefully, like I said, in the last appearance in a Milan shirt, gave the penalty away, dispossessed in the build-up to Atalanta's goal, and just anonymous for the most part in terms of being a spectator and the game bypassing him. I just can't remember him doing... Yes, there were a couple of good first-time passes and a little bit of involvement in the build-up play, but overall, I just struggle to really remember him doing anything of note, especially in the first 20 to 25 minutes. So 5 out of 10 for him. Salamakers gets a 5.5. I think he showed good energy and determination, again, to work hard for the team. But for me, just not enough quality in attack and in key moments in the final third. Should have done better in certain situations to be a bigger threat. But just not enough quality for me. So good to see Castillejo come back, make his comeback from the injury in the latter stages, and hopefully he's fit enough to start in the last 2 games of the season. Calhanoglu gets a 7, superb goal. Decisive form continues, constantly at the heart of our attacking play, just makes us tick in the final third at the moment, and is constantly causing a problem for the opposition. I think he probably got a little bit tired, which is why he got replaced. It was a good decision from Pioli to add some fresh legs, but again, impressed with Calhanoglu, 7 out of 10. Ante Rebic gets a 6 out of 10. I think, as you know, his work ethic and his desire is always going to be there. It's always spot on, but just couldn't quite match that with the quality in the final third. Similarly to Salamakers in many ways, just in certain situations where he needed to be better, just wasn't at the races on this occasion, but he did cause Rafael Toloi a lot of problems, and I thought it was a decent enough performance from him. Ibrahimovic also gets a 6. Wasn't able to have as big an influence as he's probably capable of. I thought he was pretty quiet, both in terms of dropping deep to pull the strings, but also in terms of his ability to offer a presence in the box. I think he had some good moments, but just not enough there really to prize Atalanta open. Onto the subs, Leao gets a 6. I thought he was lively, looked good when he was coming on down the left flank with his pace and directness, played with a bit of purpose. Still want to see more from him off the ball, but almost had an opportunity to score, but bizarrely looked as though Ibrahimovic got in his way, which was disappointing, but 6 out of 10 for him. And then it's sixes across the board for Bonaventura, Krunic and Castillejo. Not a massive amount in terms of individual impacts. Bonaventura had the shot which hit the post, of course. But I just think all three of them, sensible moves from Pioli to bring them on, fresh legs in key areas of the pitch. Just thought they all played a vital role in making sure that we kept the 1-1 intact and continued to push and look dangerous in terms of finding a winner. So all good impacts off the bench from our subs, and just overall impressed with the performance from the players. So talking points, I think first and foremost, as I say, great effort from all, given the absentees. You take Romagnoli, Hernandez and Benacer out of this team, you are taking out three of our best players. We had to adjust our approach and tactics as a result, but I think we played really well. We battled hard. We stepped up when we needed to, and I just thought it was a top performance from the players that were on the pitch. So really impressed with them. As I pointed out, Lucas Biglia was the weak link for me. Benacer was sorely missed. Donnarumma came up big with his penalty save on the night that he was given the captain's armband. Mature from Gabbia as the game went on. And perhaps the most important point that I wanted to make, it was just good to see and very important to see that there was no drop-off after Stefano Pioli's deal was announced. Now, we could have easily taken our foot off the pedal and kind of just dropped off and relaxed a little bit. Now that the deal's done, he's staying. But I think we showed the same grit, the same determination that we've shown throughout since the restart. And it was just good to see that didn't have an impact on our performance. So yeah, good to see that tone set for the last two games, and hopefully we can carry this through now and finish off strong. So good to see that. So moving on to your comments on Twitter, Borry Olademi at Borrycanes, no Benacer and Romagnoli, and we conceded only one goal. Bravo to the team. I really hope we can build on this momentum next season. Absolutely agree with you, Borry. Jordan Johnston at Jordan M. Johnston, huge improvement from the 5-0 beatdown that they gave us last time. Couldn't be more true. We looked a shambles in that game before Christmas. We look a completely different team now. So yeah, just excellent to see the difference between the two sides. Sam at Hussam Khan, I expected this and happy with the results. Much respect to both the teams for hard-fought draw. We need to end with a bang. Unbeaten run should continue. Yep, absolutely. You can't take anything away from Atalanta. I thought they were great as well, and just a really, really hard-fought draw. Joe, 360 degrees. Yeah, when you rewatch the game, you see that we had more clear-cut chances than they had. They had more possession, but we were more incisive. At Folkes and Style, good game. Kessie was lonely in the middle, but showed his quality. Salamakers should have made the keeper work with that half chance. Good result in the end, agreed. Joey at Pico_DE_J Gallo. Calabria was getting bullied, not sure why he tried to body Zapata on the goal. Gabbia was strong but got frozen on the goal. All in all, strong performance despite missing key players. Akura Popo, Kaya, happy to have redeemed him. B Sporty at Sporty Bobs. Kessie was imperial. Gigio showed himself big. Gabbia stood his ground. Laxout didn't melt under the heat. Ibra for once knocked balls down beautifully, and Biglia was always a minus. Salamakers can rest for one match at least. And he also added, and I failed to mention Kaya's big contribution today. I do him much injustice despite his heavy straps. He's giving us his all. Yeah, much respect to Kaya. I thought he was brilliant yet again. And just then a few more points. The discipline of this side is actually really impressive. We're cutting out errors. There's no lapses in concentration. And we're now not being our own downfall, as it were. As I pointed out, Kessie, unreal fitness levels, composure in possession was brilliant. And Kaya, an absolute rock at the back. So those two deserve special praise. And yeah, I just can't stress enough, really. Since the restart, we've beaten Roma, Lazio, Juventus. We've drawn with Napoli and Atalanta, all teams in the top half and top 6 of the table. You've got to add the wins over Parma, Bologna and Sassuolo. All impressive. 2 more games to go. So let's continue this good run and finish off strong. And yeah, as one of you pointed out, and I mentioned just the difference between the two games. December 22nd, hammered 5-0 away at Atalanta, down in 11th place with 21 points from 17 games, looking in absolute shambles. July 24th, 1-1 draw at home with Atalanta despite 3 key absentees. Now 6th in the table with 60 points on the board. Again, I want to stress, still not where we should be or where we need to be, but we've come a long way in 2020 so far, and hopefully these last 2 games go the same way as the last few have since the restart. So really impressed and really, really pleased with the result considering. But let's get back to winning ways with the last 2 games, finish strong and get 5th place. So guys, that's a wrap for this pod. Thanks as always for listening. At Milan Talk 1 on Twitter and Facebook for more reaction. MilanTalk.com for loads more opinion and reaction to the game. Thanks again for listening to the pod. Subscribe, like, share the videos if you're enjoying it. We're next in action on Wednesday against Sampdoria. So until that one, Forza Milan.